See how hard he knows how to push on it? That's bad. We got kind of a storm rolling in here, so let's... Whoa! Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I'm here with Toby and Sydney, and you have a little 2-year-old that's giving you some trouble. Can you just tell us about it a little bit?
Yeah, so he's been really sweet. We weaned him, and right after we weaned him, he kind of became a turd, and we've just been having a lot of difficulties with him since then. So he's hard to catch. He really fights you a lot when you're trying to trim his feet or like anything you work with him on.
Yeah, and you were saying you sent him for training,
yeah.
But how did that go?
They worked with him for about a month, is that right? And then they just gave up on him because they said they couldn't do anything with him, and so we got him back, and I haven't really worked with him since, so I haven't even caught him since, so we'll see how it goes today.
Yeah, so you just want me to work with him and see if we can kind of get a pathway forward?
Yeah.
With what to do with him?
Maybe give me some pointers on when I need to work with him, some things that I can do to be consistent, throughout the next few months.
Yeah, I'm super curious about him, especially because he's young. He's 2 years old, and usually when people, like, you're doing the right things, that's a good time to send a horse for some training and see where they're at. So I'm kind of surprised they're having that much issue with that one that young. It's like they're 10 and nobody's done anything with them. That's like, more understandable. But two, I'm curious if it's him or if it's the approach that they were taking. So it'll be fun to get into it.
Yeah.
So a little background on the situation here. I thought he had a system for catching this horse, and I thought that was have a buddy horse with the youngster, and to put him in a pen, and I thought he'd be able to walk in and halter him in there. And then pretty quickly I realized that it was getting kind of dangerous. Some of the positions he was in where he was behind the horse touching his butt, he could get kicked. The horse was thinking about jumping out. So I decided to abandon this plan and start doing a different strategy. So he's harder to catch.
Yeah.
And you weren't joking.
Almost impossible.
Yeah, like that was gonna be pretty dangerous for you, or he was gonna go out of the pen.
Yeah.
And then I was talking to Sydney while we were just kind of observing. I just wanted to see, I always like to see what the owners are doing with the horse to give me an idea. Putting all this together as I'm here, it makes me go, well, okay, we got to start at square one. And so I want to see if I can get a connection with this horse at Liberty before we go further. I thought maybe he was learned to be hard to catch, like kind of more typical, and then it's like, well, with that type of horse, usually once you get a halter on, you can get more done. But we're going to slow things down even further and see if we can get some stuff done at Liberty. So,
okay, perfect.
All right. Okay, so we're gonna mess with this horse at Liberty. And you can just see right away, he's just thinking for a way out. He's not thinking about connecting to the human as relief at all. And if he's had some bad experiences with people, even if it's just an attempt to do health things like the vet work or farrier work, they can end up being a negative experience where they don't like people even more. And so that's when I wanna first try to build a connection with him where he's wanting to connect with the human before we go any further than that. And so what I want to do is look for opportunities where he's very certainly thinking away from me, and then I'm going to apply a little bit of pressure. But I'm going to start off with just seeing if I can build his curiosity towards me a little bit. And so I'm just going to make him uncomfortable here just by being here. And then you can see, again, he's looking for the way out. So I don't need to add any more pressure to make him uncomfortable. He's already plenty uncomfortable. The problem is that it's me being here that's making him uncomfortable. And so I'm just gonna wait and see if he'll think towards me at all. We got kind of a storm rolling in here, so let's, whoa! So let's, whoa!
That's how he bends the pin.
Woo! So, does somebody want to stand at the gate there with a flag? So we have a round pen that's about 100 yards away from where this horse lives. And I think the idea was that if we had a halter on him, we could lead him to the round pen, but obviously that wasn't going to happen right away. And so we're trying to work with this horse in this pen, and the panels are just short enough that the horse thought it could get out. Now keep in mind, when this horse was at the trainers, I think I heard that he was kind of shampooing some of the panels there as well, thinking about jumping out and kind of breaking some panels. So this was a thing that this horse had learned previously, and so because it had worked for him in the past, he was going to go to that again. And I'm trying to keep it together as much as possible and get the horse's attention back in on the inside towards me, but very delicate situation. There, so there's the first time he thought towards me. So now I'll step away. But luckily we found a good spot there where I could release him looking in. There, he thought in again, step away. So same thing here, I'm on the edge of his bubble, and so I'm just making this a little bit uncomfortable. And if he thinks in, that's where he can get me to step away. So all I'm doing here is just staying with him. Now, the thing about this is, and this is where like people got to decide, if he's going to keep thinking over and try to jump out, I would be better off putting a rope on him, likely. But he's not even really thinking about me at all. But the issue is if somebody else has roped him and kind of had that go south on them, that doesn't help anything. There we go. Got a little connection. So it's a tricky thing to decide when to rope them or when not to. Like, and for me, it's like if I see that I'm getting nowhere at liberty or it's going to get worse trying it at liberty, I'm better off putting a rope on him. But in a perfect scenario, you would get as much done at liberty as you could before you put a rope on him, so that you're reducing the risk and the difficulty of what you have to deal with once you have a rope on him. Especially if he's learned to drag somebody around for hours, you know. But even this, if he can learn to get relief turning and facing, see there he let down, he blew out. So even though it doesn't look like I'm doing anything, him and I are having a conversation the whole time. See, he's having a big letdown there. And so he felt unsafe in here, and that's why he starts thinking over. So it's just too much pressure. So it's safety, comfort, play, then food. And so, you know, a lot of people would probably think, oh, just come in here and give him cookies and feed him, and that can get you, you know, so far. And it's pretty cool that he wanted to walk into me, and so I'll leave him alone there and walk away. And then there, as soon as he turns away, I'm going to come back into his bubble. So I'm just keeping a little bit of pressure on, following him around until he thinks towards me. And now you can see if I were to just try to like round pen him, like traditional, just push him around, this horse could probably just run around for a long time. And so that's why I'm not trying to push him around. And I actually think that's kind of a mistake people make quite often, is they just go in there and thinking I'm going to have to push him around, so they just start pushing him around. But really, you can just have this conversation and see all I'm doing is just being in his space. And if he wants me to get out of his space, all he has to do is look at me. So if he doesn't look at me, I just stay here. There, he stopped and looked. So you can see it's happening a little more frequently. Now the next step is working on an approach. So if he'll just stand there and look at me, I'll walk side to side like this. And what I'm looking for is his nose to follow me. Eventually we might get a foot to follow me. But at first, and then I'll turn away from him as I change sides. So predators think in straight lines. So the tempting thing for a human to do is try to walk straight to him. That's going to immediately, he's already thinking about where's his exit. So if I walk straight to him, that's going to immediately put him into flight mode and think about leaving. And I'm also like, I guess a way to say it is I'm like confusing his defense system a little bit by walking side to side. Like it doesn't give him a real clear plan of which way to leave because I'm not being direct lined about how I'm approaching him. And see, as soon as he thought to leave, I stepped into him more straight. And so more pressure came on. And again, it's just me being here. And the reason I'm stepping in front of him now is to interrupt his pattern. Because again, to me, he's a horse that would just run around a lot. And I would do nothing more than get him more fit by just doing that. And so by blocking him like that and stepping in front of the drive line, I'm just interrupting his pattern of just running away. Now, he thought over the fence there, but you see I was way less committed. Now he's thinking more about comfort than safety. And so we got him in a better frame of mind. But we got a ways to go. And you got to take those wins. Like with a horse that's really difficult, he was at like a -8, maybe -9 on a scale of 0 to 10. He was -9 or 10. You can't get any lower than 10. -10 is they're going to kill you and they're going to kill themselves trying to get away. That's why I put him at a -8. He was willing to try to jump out of a fence over something that's pretty high. I mean, as taller than he is to get out. That's pretty committed. So now I'm just seeing when I do this, So if he'll step into me, I'll turn away from him. But I'm trying to shrink his bubble a little bit. So I'm taming the area around him. So a lot of people get really focused on when you're right next to him, touching him, because that's like a big bridge to cross where you're actually petting him. But the game is here. I'm just trying to move that. There's a threshold about right there. And it's like, if I can just move that threshold an inch, that's progress. If I can move it a foot, more, and keep building. But a lot of times we set a pretty high expectation. This is where, myself included, we can get ourselves in trouble by, if we project an expectation on them of where we should get to in the session, we can move past too many thresholds trying to get there, and it ends up being a negative experience for the horse. And so I want to let him tell me where that line is and let him decide when that line can get smaller. So there's a big step of progress. And he tolerated that pretty good, so I'll retreat. So that's the approach and retreat. Because if I were to just keep pushing, then he's not thinking there's going to be an answer to it. The pressure just stays on. But if I can build his confidence that if he can try for me, I'll retreat, we can build that try more and more. Because essentially in the beginning, he had no try. He was just thinking about his own self-preservation. And if we can get him trying for us, that's when all things become possible. So when I'm working with a really green horse, that is the number one thing that I'm trying to accomplish, is build try. Not what skills can I, humans, we want to think about a list of, well, I haltered him, I picked up his feet, I trail loaded him, I did all these, this list of things. But from his perspective, if I can make him feel good about being with me instead of being away from me, we're gaining. And that is what opens up the doors to make those other steps easier. But if we try to just, there's a good step. That's a good man. Attaboy. So this is where if I was here for weeks, I would spend a few days just messing with this, but I don't have all the time in the world. So I'm gonna put a rope on him now to see if we can make some progress and give you more to work with. But just a little side note, I have a full Mustang taming series on my Patreon page, and essentially this is where we're at with him, is we're taming him. We're not trying to train him to do anything. He needs to get tamed, meaning he's not going to his pre-animal instincts to survive. He's looking to the human for leadership and for relief. And that's what we're trying to turn with him. So if he's been roped before, he's probably not going to stand still. But I also really don't want to jump him over the fence. So I'm trying to decide if I should take a shot at a distance, even though he probably knows how to duck the rope. So now that we got lucky, the goal is to not jump out of the fence. But what I would normally try to do is manage my rope and pick a moment where he's thinking in towards me, and then pick up a feel. So you see how hard he knows how to push on it? That's bad. Because that means when they roped him, they tried to direct him around way too strong. And he got away with it. Right there. So what I can't do that you would be tempted to do is set a boundary and say, you gotta face me. I gotta look for opportunities, just like I did at Liberty, to when he kind of wants to look this way anyways. Like here, I'll put a little feel. So instead of just doing it at Liberty, I'm putting a little feel until he'll face me, and then take the pressure off. Right there. Does that make sense? Too many people get too direct lined about just like, oh, I got a rope on him, now I can control him. But at the same time, what's challenging is when he can't just leave every time without running into pressure. Like, like at some point he's got to give to pressure in order to advance it beyond the liberty. But it's like really key to pick your moments, you know. But for being such a cute little guy, you guys got your hands full here. So it's like my training right now is 50-50. It's half liberty, half got a rope on them. But people make a big mistake if you feel like it's all got a rope on them. But I would say this is a pretty good give right here. And this is why I'm not putting it all on him saying he's just super, super tough. He's not easy. But he's coachable enough seemingly. But once a horse learns to jump out and pull away and different things, it gets pretty hard to reverse it. But when they'll follow you like this is where a lot of breakthroughs can happen, because otherwise everything else is me going to him, and that feels like a lot of pressure. But now he's building confidence following me, and I'm adding this little feel to the rope so that the rope is getting some credit instead of just him following me at liberty. Does that make sense? In fact, I'll make a little statement about breeders. A lot of people that breed their own horses, they'll spend a lot of time with them, and they'll teach them to follow a person without learning to follow a feel. And they need both. At the end of the day, I want my horse to follow me at liberty, but I also want him to follow a feel. Does that make sense? And so you need to place equal emphasis on both, because following a feel from steady pressure, like this is now mostly steady pressure, not liberty, right? There, and he gave to it. All those little things stack up, but it's a whole bunch of little stuff that a lot of people don't think about. But innately, horses are way more afraid of steady pressure. And like an example that I use, let's say you and I are in a competition, and we each got a Mustang. And the goal is to get the Mustang to the other side of the pasture. And you get a flag, and I get a halter and lead rope. And it can be put on them, but who's gonna get there first? You can flag your horse down there, or I can try to drag mine down. Like, yeah, this is not gonna happen, because it's a big step to teach them to follow a feel. But a lot of people don't think about it that way. That herding a horse and driving them around is a fairly natural thing for them to move away from driving pressure. But following a feel of steady pressure is a major step in every horse's development. And we get them really good at it by doing it in a lot of different ways. Because it's all the same. He's following a feel off the rope. It's the same as him following a feel off the halter. Same as him following a feel off a leg. Same as accepting the cinch on a saddle. It's all the same to him. But this makes it hard when you can't put your hand out and pet them. Because a lot of horses, once you've got this part, like if you pet them as babies, this part's easy. But like with him, I'm having to earn every single step, you know. Like I'm breaking this down into baby steps on top of baby steps. Like I'm not even extending my arm, but I'm just finding a way to, you got to find a starting point and build from there, you know. But horses are amazing of how much they'll adjust and learn. Like you were saying, he got roped and then ran around for 2.5 hours, you know, to where he's at now. Like how quickly he turned around with whatever differences in my approach. And then when you make the first contact, it's usually better if you can let them touch you versus you touching them on the face. That's not necessarily true for the rest of their body. And then like there he drifts away. Like a lot of people would be like, no, I didn't say back up and pull him. I'm like, no, like if he needed to step back and retreat a little bit, who cares, you know? If you didn't like going to the dentist office, and then one time you do go to the dentist office and then they strap you down to a chair, are you gonna have a better impression of the dentist or even worse? You know what I mean? It's like if you don't give them an escape route, people make this mistake with trailer loading a lot. You know, the horse goes to back off the trailer and they try to hold the horse in, and you have zero chance of holding that horse in, and they try it. Well, now you just taught the horse to pull through the halter even stronger. Where if you just let them go outside the trailer, then make it a little uncomfortable out there, you at least didn't teach them to push through pressure. So I do my best to always ask the horses achievable questions. Does that make sense? And then I just broke one of my rules, which is when you're trying to work your hand, don't move your hand and your feet at the same time. Like here, put your hand away. Move your feet a little closer.
And what's the reason behind that?
It's a lot extra pressure by doing both.
Yep,
it's like just identifying that they're both different types of pressure. He's getting comfortable with my body being closer to him, and now I'm also getting him used to my hand being closer to him. Good boy. But what's great, this is why I wanted to put a rope on him instead of doing it at Liberty. Think how many times he would have left at Liberty compared to now that I got the line on and got him to follow a feel. Now I can keep retreating and have him follow me instead of him leaving and me following him. We've reversed that. And that's where a lot of people get stuck of, oh, I'd never rope him. I would just spend more time and get a chair and a book and camp out there. And it's like, I get that, but at the same time, the more you can be retreating from the horse, you can make the process a lot easier on them in the long run. And again, there he's going to leave. I'll kind of let him leave, and then I'll bring him back. But if I were to shut that down immediately and not give him that little bit of drift, that would bring up his defenses stronger if I set the boundary that way versus let him drift and then bring him back. See, that time he's reaching out for me. And then if you find a spot that they'll let you touch them, you build on that spot. And so what I kind of call that home base. So now the bridge of his nose there is home base for me. So we can go there, and then from there I'll try to work up, and then I'll come back to it. Work up and come back, or work down and back. And just take a deep breath there. He's trying hard. Because you got to appreciate that he's not trying to be bad, he's scared, you know. And that's where a lot of people, they get their ego wrapped up into it, and they take it personally when a horse does something they don't want. And that's where you see a lot of horses get a lot of pressure put on them when the human gets their ego hurt. But really, the horse is just being a horse. You know, that's all they know how to do. And it's like at that point, I feel like it's our responsibility to present it to them in a way that can make sense to them, not just in a way that's easy for us. And that's what's the hard thing about what I call horsemanship versus horse training, is like you're trying to understand the horse and work from their perspective. And then you're trying to get the horse to accept the things that we need them to accept from a human perspective. But we start with where they're at. And then see, like even there, like you're seeing his flight zone get smaller and smaller. It's like, well, this is all doable. If you just back up a couple steps when you get bothered instead of running off to the next county, you know, or jumping into the next county, I should say. Does that make sense? And so when you get the horse working with you, you can just see there's like, oh, there's a pathway now to like building it up. And so that's kind of really all I'm going to be able to accomplish today with him, is just getting him started on that pathway. But there's a lot of miles left to go on that pathway. But we got him understanding, looking at you with two eyes, and we got him to understand the follow a feel.
Yeah, it's a huge win from where we started.
So yeah, that's where he's at. You got your hands full. But yeah, if you have the time, all the steps are there, like I was saying on that video series. So what's cool, I love how we finished in a good enough spot where I can leave him after taking the rope off. And I think we got him in a little better frame of mind. Yeah, that's awesome. So why don't you tell me what your thoughts are on what we just did.
I think it's just super impressive to watch how quickly you made that kind of progress, especially after where we started. He was so wild and crazy.
Yeah, we started in flight mode.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's really impressive. Just your gentle approach, real slow, easy, and the timing, like your understanding of the timing was really fun to watch. So you obviously know horses very well. So
done it a couple times.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So yeah, I really appreciate you doing that, and some great tips for me, things that I can work on with him, just trying to get him tamed, as you said.
Does that change it too in your mind when I say
Very
we're
much so.
taming versus we're training him right now?
Yep.
Because when you're thinking training, I think it's easy to let your mind go to, well, we're going to pick up his feet, we're gonna maybe put a saddle on him, we're gonna practice trail loading or whatever. It's like, no, we're just getting him to learn to trust a human and have respect. And when we say respect, it's like appropriate response to pressure. And the more we layer that in and build that in, then those other tasks that we want to do get very, gets much easier.
Yeah.
Because I've seen horses that were trained but not tame.
Oh yeah.
And then they're the ones that still buck somebody off randomly or spook at a show or something. It's like, well, those are taming, responses a lot of times.
Yep. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So that really helps me to understand the difference between the two, and that changes your approach. So
yeah,
I really appreciate you coming out here and showing me some tips and tricks.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you letting me work with them, Toby.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one. Nothing worse than trying to rope something when you got a bunch of ropers standing around.
Cowboy.
The round pen's over there. You are cute as can be, though. You are too cute.